Good evening. You're listening to This Week in High School Sports, episode number 3 of the 2018 fall year, and sports season is in full swing. Trevor Mater, Kramer Sansone, here with you for the next 45 minutes or so to talk a little bit of everything. Some softball, some golf, some soccer, some tennis, some volleyball, and of course some football. And as I said, I'm joined by Kramer Sansone. Kramer, week 3. Now all the sports are kind of in that full stride, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, this should be their 4th week of school as well.
I think so.
Hey, progress reports came out last week. I'm pretty sure that 3-week span, I know that's what happened back then. But, yeah, the sports realm is all in force with the high school sports right now. And, yes, like you mentioned, softball, golf, football, anything, you name it is on there.
Let's just kind of jump into this past week's sports action. We'll start with softball. On Monday, Maryville was victorious over Worth County 12-0. North Nottoway was victorious 10-7 over South Holt. On Tuesday, North Nottoway defeated Stewartsville 6-2. Platte Valley defeated Northeast Nottoway 10-0. And Savannah defeated Maryville 6-4. Albany defeated Worth County 4-1. Marysville softball will be in action on Thursday against Benton at Hyde Park, and they will be in a tournament on Saturday in Stanberry. In golf action last Thursday, Maryville finished 4th at the St. Joe Invitational. Emily Long shot an 84 and tied for 3rd place. Laurel Wickersham shot a 92 and tied for 8th place. On Tuesday, the Swoofhound Golf Squad competed also in Cameron. In that one, I was unable to find results for that. And then upcoming events on Wednesday, they will compete in Richmond in a tournament. And then a quad on Thursday with Bishop LeBlond, St. Joe Central, and Lafayette. That'll be at Lake Mazingo. For boys soccer, they will face LeBlond on Thursday. A little bit of tennis action. Actually, there was quite a bit of tennis action this past week as the girls' tennis team picked up a 9-0 sweep over Benton on Friday. A really impressive showing from them. The upcoming tennis schedule looks like this. The girls will travel to Cameron on Wednesday, and they'll compete against Lafayette on Thursday in St. Joe, and on Monday they will compete against Trenton in what is senior night. That'll be played here at Northwest Missouri State. Look at the cross-country action from this past week. The Rockport girls claimed the team title at the Indian Run in Tarkio on Monday. Ashley Riley of Platte Valley was the champion. Aubrey Watkins led the champion Blue Jays with a 5th-place finish. Her teammate Brianna Maxwell added a 10th-place finish. And on the boys' side, Sydney, Iowa captured the team title thanks to a championship run by Noah Jorgensen, who bested the field by 64 seconds. Mound City's Lane Zembles finished 2nd. North Andrews' Ryan Williams was 3rd. Northwest Nottoway's Preston Bateman was 5th, along with teammate Duke Ingram in 6th. On Tuesday, Maryville girls participated at the Cameron Invitational. They were led by Laura Feuerbacher's runner-up finish. Amy Feuerbacher also cracked the top 10 with a 10th-place finish. Upcoming cross-country events, Thursday, Maryville will compete at an invitational in Platte City. So, Kramer, there's a look at your kind of what's going on with a lot of these sports. And like I said, it is really busy and a lot of action for the Swoofhounds this past week.
There's a lot of action. Hopefully the student-athletes were able to get their schoolwork done. I know as a student-athlete back in high school, I made sure I crammed the last second. So, yeah, it's also exciting. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things where people can go out and watch.
And I wasn't a student-athlete, and I had hard enough time keeping up with the student part of school. But a lot of things going on. The weather was pretty nice for part of the week.
It's going to be excellent this week.
And this week, it's going to be a really nice week all around. I didn't mention the interviews we have lined up here for today. We're going to kind of mix it up a little bit. We're going to talk some volleyball with Maryville High School volleyball coach Marissa Felt here in just a few minutes. Also, talk some 275 football with Mound City head coach Taylor Standerford, and we'll go to the Grand River Conference and talk to the head football coach at Pattonsburg, Chase Roberts. Let's take a real quick look at the volleyball action from this past week. Maryville defeated Bishop LeBlond in 2 sets on Thursday, courtesy of 9 kills by Serena Sundell. Morgan Steckline had 11 digs. Kelsey Scott had 7 aces. On Thursday, East Atchison defeated Mound City in 2 sets. Rockport defeated West Nottoway in 2 sets, and South Holt defeated Nottoway Holt in 3 sets. This past Tuesday, Mound City defeated West Nottoway in 2 sets, and Maryville dropped to Excelsior Springs in 2 sets. Morgan Steckline had 2 kills. Josie Pitts had 3 assists and 1 ace. Kelsey Scott had 2 kills and 1 block. Serena Sundell added 4 kills and 1 block, and Macy Lowe had 3 assists and 5 digs. The Spoofhounds are now 5-2 on the season. Maryville Volleyball will take on Lafayette on Thursday, and then the Spoofhounds will travel to Kansas City on Tuesday to take on Northland Christian. So another good week of volleyball action for the Spoofhounds, Kramer. And right now we're getting ready to begin conference play. I believe it begins tomorrow night. By the time the show airs on KZLX, it'll have already happened. But against Lafayette this Thursday is when conference play will begin, and right now they're playing pretty well.
Yeah, they are playing pretty well in a Midland Empire Conference that is actually very decently good. All teams around with volleyball, so it'd be nice as they are 5-2 on the season. The Spoofhounds as they go into Lafayette. Well, no, they actually are they in St. Joe or are they Lafayette?
I believe it's at home.
I'd
have to double check the schedule, but I believe it's at home.
So it's good. Make sure you get that home win always at first when when conference plays does start, so you get a little advantage over teams start right off the bat.
As I mentioned, we were joined this week by Maryville High School volleyball coach Marissa Felt for the first time this season, second-year coach, and her Spoofhounds are off to a pretty solid start, and they have high expectations this season with a young team. So let's hear that interview with Maryville High School volleyball coach Marissa Felt on This Week in High School Sports.
You're listening to This Week in High School Sports on X106 time for a Coach's Corner. This one, we're going to talk a little bit of volleyball with head volleyball coach at Maryville High School, Marissa Felt. Coach, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am doing great. Just kind of talk about this team. What have you learned about this team so far, and what have you liked from them?
We're a super young team. I have 4 sophomores that play pretty much the whole time, so we're really young. But I've learned that leadership has been pretty strong within our team. We have 2 seniors, and they both play as well, and the leadership between them and then as well as the young ones, it's awesome to see them all coming together with the leadership role.
Talk about those seniors. Who have been the seniors that have stepped up and kind of helped the young team you guys have?
Vanessa Klotz, she's one of my seniors. She's an outside hitter, great leader, great personality. She's just someone that needs to be out on the court when we need her to be a leader. And then Caroline Morley, she's also a senior. She has a super positive attitude. She's not one that will play the whole game, and there's times when I need her to just be a team member on the bench and just talk with everyone and help her team out, and she takes that role like a champ.
You mentioned 4 sophomores, a young team. Who were some of those pieces that have really kind of shined here early on and we can expect to hear from in the next couple of years?
Yeah, Serena Sundell, she's one of my middles. She played for me last year, too, as a freshman, and she does not play like she's a sophomore. You would think that she's a junior or senior, just the way that she can hit the ball and the way that she plays the whole court, as well as Macy Lowe. She's one of my setters. She played as a freshman, too. So her and Serena are kind of a duo together on the court. They're pretty good together. Morgan Steckline, she's an outside hitter and plays all the way around for me. She has great defense. She's just a really strong player. And then Kelsey Scott, she really stepped up this year, and she's one of my middles as well. Like I said, she's really stepped up for us, great blocker and a good hitter.
Talk about this past week or so of action. You guys went just across state lines, had a gritty win against Southwest Valley in 5 sets, a tough loss to Excelsior Springs the other night. Just what did you see from your team this past week?
Yeah, the Corning game, it was good to go back to Iowa. The girls enjoyed playing 5 games, and I think that was good for us to build some stamina within only playing 3 sets here in Missouri. But we played Excelsior Spring last night. Yeah, we were a little off. I don't know if it was just the long bus ride that hurt us a little bit, but I think just communication within the team has been important in the last week. Last night communication wasn't really working for us, but against the Corning team, Southwest Valley, it was really helping us get that win. So,
when you look at this team so far, it's still kind of a little bit of a young season. Is there anything that you feel like you guys particularly need to improve on down the stretch?
I would definitely say just some of our skills within the game. There's times when we don't really cover our hitters, and we got some big blockers on the other side. So just little things that are definitely fixable that we need to work on down the road. But other than that, like communication, it'll come as we gel together more, as well as just team chemistry. I mean, it's been good, but it can get better.
Talk about the Midland Empire, this conference this year. Just kind of what do you guys expect in that conference as we get into conference play?
Yeah, so our goal this season was to win conference. And we beat LeBlanc the other night. That was a good game for us to start with a win. We played Benton already once, but that wasn't our conference game. So we play them again for conference, and they were a tough team. They beat us, but it was two very close games. So I think that it'll come neck and neck to that. But our goal is definitely to be the first in the conference. So it'll be tough, but I think we can do it.
Aside from the goal of winning the conference, are there any additional goals you guys have maybe when it gets to postseason play?
For postseason play, we definitely think that we can win districts, and it's just going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of passion, and you can tell within some of the two seniors, they definitely have a lot of passion, and they want to go far this year, so that's always good.
Well, what's it going to take to reach those goals?
I think just hard work in the gym. There's days where the girls are tired, and I get it, and we talk about this a lot, but you just got to buckle down and get through those days when you're tired, and just play as a team and never forget that, and I think that will help us a lot.
Looking at your schedule this week, a couple of matches coming up. You guys will take on Lafayette tomorrow and then travel down to Kansas City on Tuesday to take on Northland Christian. Just kind of what are you expecting in those matchups, and what do you want to see from the team?
Lafayette definitely will be a tough game tomorrow, and we've just taken it game by game, so we haven't really even thought about next week. We're getting ready for Lafayette tomorrow, and the girls know that it'll be tough. Everyone's competitive with us this year, which is good. I mean, I want games to be competitive, and the girls do too. So just going game by game, and then we're going to work on some stuff today at practice to get us ready for Lafayette tomorrow, and then Kansas City next week. So taking it game by game.
Talking to Maryville head volleyball coach Marissa Phelps. Coach, thank you for your time, and best of luck this next week and the rest of the season, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you.
All right, that is Marissa Phelps, head volleyball coach at Maryville High School. We're going to take a real quick break. You're listening to This Week in High School Sports on X106.
Welcome back to This Week in High School Sports on X106. Trevor Mater, Kramer Sansone here with you, recapping everything going on in the sports world in Northwest Missouri. Take a quick look at some of the football action from this past weekend. We'll start with the 275 conference. East Atchison was victorious over South Holt and Ottaway Holt 62-28. A big day from Jake McEnany. He threw for 317 yards and 5 touchdowns. Bryson Bywater, he also went beast mode as well with 291 total yards and 6 touchdowns. Rockport defeated Stewartsville 54-32. Mound City is 3-0 on the year after a 58-6 win over Albany. The Platte Valley Longhorns picked up their first win of the year with a 40-30 victory over the Northwest Nottoway Muskets. And Southwest Livingston edged DeKalb 48-40. Quick look at your standings in the 275 conference right now. Rockport, they are 3-0 overall, 3-0 in conference play, as is Southwest Livingston. They're 3-0 in both of those. Mound City 3-0 overall, 2-0 in conference plays. They did not play a conference game this week. That Albany game was a non-conference game. East Atchison, they dropped their opener to Southwest Livingston, but since then they've rallied for 2 straight wins. They're 2-1 on the season and 2-1 in 275 play. Stewartsville 1-2 on the season and 1-2 in conference play, as is Platte Valley. DeKalb, they're 1-2 on the season, 0-2 in conference play. South Holt and Nottoway Holt 0-3 on the season and 0-2 in conference play. And Northwest Nottoway 0-3 overall and 0-3 in conference play. Kramer, when you look at the 275 scores from this past weekend, just kind of anything that sticks out to you or any thoughts you have going through your head after looking at those or seeing those?
It seemed like every team were scoring points, and that's always good. You never want to have to be that team that's like, oh, we may not be there at that time, but it's nice to see the offense come alive for almost all these teams. I was the pleasure to go to the Rockport and Stewartsville game just that past Friday, and yeah, that was one heck of a game. It was back and forth until the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left, and it was intense.
Yeah, quite the game there. Rockport, they've let some teams hang around with them early in the year. You know, you think they played DeKalb earlier this year, and they let them hang around for a little while, but they've been able to get it done towards the ends of the games, and that's kind of been what's mattered, and that's why they're 3-0 on this season right now, and perfect in conference play. The one thing that sticks out to me is another really good week by Bryson Bywater.
Yeah, Bryson Bywater, 291 total yards, 6 touchdowns. Wow, that's a lot.
And the way East Atchison was able to sling the ball, too, with Jake McEnany.
That's true.
I mean,
there's East Atchison. I know the first week they got upset at getting their first loss in the season then, but after that they've turned it around.
And they're kind of, I think, right now they're focusing on the end of September here. They've got a matchup in a couple weeks with Rockport in the Atchison County Super Bowl. That game will be played in Tarkio, and then also Mountain City. The consensus coming into this year in the 275 was that it was Mountain City, Rockport, and East Atchison. But you throw Southwest Livingston into the mix right now too. They find themselves 3-0 with a big matchup against Mountain City this week. And I think we kind of know what the top four is going to look like in the 275, but there's still maybe some mixing and matching as far as who's going to go where.
Honestly, this honestly it's a toss up. I can't really speak today. I feel like the toss-up with these four teams, and honestly, you can even look at DeKalb coming around because, they put up 40 points against Southwest Livingston. Who knows what they can do for the rest of the season as well because, they're turning it around. Yeah,
and they were able to hang with Rockport. You were at that game,
yes.
And it seemed like turnovers were what took them out of that game. They had a lot of turnovers, but they've been able to hang with some teams and stay in it. It's also worth noting right now that Bryson Bywater leads all of Missouri 8-man with 10 rushing touchdowns. Gavin Abbott of Rockport also has 10 touchdowns. He is tied with that. So they've had kind of a good start to their season in Tarkio, and as have the Blue Jays as well in Rockport, and that's going to be an exciting one here in a couple weeks.
And what I've noticed with Gavin Abbott, he gets first-half touchdowns. And after that, it goes Joey Hearn to come in and get most of the carrying after that. But it's
a good 1-2 punch for them as well. So there's a quick look at your 275. We'll preview what's coming up here in a little bit, but as I mentioned earlier on the show, we were fortunate enough to talk with another head football coach from the 275 conference, and this coach's team has a really big game coming up this week as Mound City will make the hour-plus trek to Ludlow, Missouri. This Friday night they will take on the Southwest Livingston Wildcats in a battle of undefeateds in the 275 conference. So why don't we talk to the head football coach of the Mound City Panthers, Taylor Standerford, on This Week in High School Sports.
You're listening to This Week in High School Sports on X106. It's time now for another Coach's Corner. For this one, we're going to talk to football in the 275 conference and go to the head coach of the Mound City Panthers, Coach Taylor Standerford. Coach, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Just kind of talking about, this is your first year at the helm of Mound City. Do you feel like you kind of got the hang of it now and acclimated well to the situation?
I have previously been here at Mound City for 2 years as an assistant coach. As you said, this is my first year as a head coach, and so far the boys have done great. It's been a great transition into this, and the boys have really bought into what we're doing here.
Yeah, can I just talk about that 3-0 in the season, coming off a pretty impressive win against Albany? What did you see from your team that you liked last Friday night?
Our boys they came out, they played hard, and they've all season bought into what I started talking about last spring with them, and that was the defensive side of the ball. We have to start stopping teams defensively in order for us to win games down the road. And that's what it's come down to these first 3 games is, we've given up 6 points, and that was we gave up that touchdown on Friday night to Albany.
Yeah, just kind of talk about that defense a little bit. Like you said, 6 points so far this season. I believe by doing some math earlier, you've allowed just 86 rushing yards defensively. Is there anything you attribute that to?
That's just our boys going hard and buying into that system that we want to hold those guys to very few rushing yards and 0 points.
Who have been some of those guys that have been stepping up for you on both sides of the ball?
TJ Hopkins has been a huge benefit for us on defense, especially this last week. He really stepped up against Albany with their pulling guards, following their guards and making tackles behind the line. The linebackers, we've had Dylan Mars and Landon Papa that have been flying around the field and making tackles. We've also had Dylan George and Matthew Papa out there on defense that have been, just sprinting everywhere. So if one guy does miss a tackle, there's 3 more guys there to tackle him up.
Talk about offensively. Who have been some of the guys that have been able to put points on the board for you?
So offensively, our three backs, our quarterback Dylan Mars has done an outstanding job for us. He started last year, did a great job then, and has continued that into this year. TJ Hopkins is running back. I mean, he's our power back. He's the one that if we need a yard, we can give it to him, and he's going to go forward. Matthew Papa, he's more the edge runner, and he's done a great job for us also. And then our line up front has really come along these first 3 weeks and started blocking well.
You mentioned Mars and Hopkins and Papa. Those are all names that people familiar with 8-man football in Missouri, I'm sure, know really well. As a first-year head coach, I'm sure maybe it makes your job a little bit easier that you have the veteran leadership to rely on that you have there.
Oh, yes, it makes my job a ton easier. Dylan Mars, all three of those guys are returning All-State guys. And so it just makes it easier for me to, get the game plan ready to how we're going to operate each week.
Looking at this conference, I know I talked to Rockport head coach Ross Hastert a couple weeks ago, and he said he thought maybe the 275 was the toughest that it's been in years past. This conference, it just looks like it's pretty tough this year.
Yes, it does. I mean, across the board, it's way better than it was last year. You got Southwest, Livingston, you got Rockport, East Ashton that have all started out the season great. And then even, some of those teams that finished towards the bottom last year, they're much improved teams from what they were a year ago.
Just kind of talking around the 275, the consensus has kind of been with what you guys have returned that maybe you guys are the team to beat. And just kind of what's the mindset? Have you guys talked about that at all, or how do you keep your team grounded and go week by week?
Yeah, that's one thing I talk with the boys every week as we're going week by week. We don't care about anything down the road. We win this week. If we win this week, then when it turns to Saturday morning, we'll worry about the next week. And so we don't look, on past this game. It's this week's game, and then Saturday morning, we'll start worrying about the next week's game.
You mentioned this week's game, and you got a tough one against a very good Southwest Livingston team making the trek down to Ludlow this weekend. What do you see from them? If you've seen any film, or what do you expect, and what do you think it's going to take to get the win on Friday night?
Their offense has been doing a great job. They've scored a bunch of points this year. Their quarterbacks, they want to snap the ball to him and let him either do it with his arm or do it with his legs. They've been averaging about 200 rushing yards a game. So, as you mentioned earlier, our 80 yards a game that we've been giving up, that's more where we want to hold them to, and that's going to be the key to us winning.
That'll be an exciting one on Friday night. Mound City at Southwest Livingston. Talking to Mound City head football coach Taylor Standerford, as they are 3-0 this season, has looked impressive. Coach, thank you for your time today, and best of luck Friday and the rest of the season. We'll talk to you down the road.
All right, thank you.
All right, that is Mound City head coach Taylor Standerford. We're going to take a real quick break. You're listening to This Week in High School Sports on X106.
Welcome back to This Week in High School Sports on X106. Trevor Mater, Kramer Sansone here with you. We've already talked some Maryville volleyball, previewed or recapped, I guess I should say, the 275 football scores from this past week. So why don't we go ahead and jump into the Grand River Conference. Kind of an interesting week in that conference. Albany played a non-conference game against Mound City. Also, St. Joe Christian, they had a bye week this past week, so only 3 conference games, and 2 of them went in a doubleheader in Cameron on Saturday. Inclement weather and unsafe playing field conditions on Friday prompted Stanbury King City as well as Pattonsburg North Andrew to be moved from Friday night to Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. Both those games were played at Cameron. A pair of really good games and a couple perennial powers and some teams on the rise. And they put on an entertaining show on Saturday in Cameron. And Kramer, why don't we go ahead and look at those scores from this past week?
So Pattonsburg defeated North Andrew 76-52. Stanberry defeated King City 46-28, and Worth County defeated Bramer 70-6.
Yeah, so like I said, the Pattonsburg, North Andrew, Stanberry, King City games, those took place on Saturday in Cameron. Worth County defeated Bramer on Friday night. Worth County right now, they just kind of look like they're playing kind of like that team last year that was able to cruise to a state title. They still got some tough tests ahead of them with Pattonsburg and Stanberry, and North Andrew's always no small task, nor is King City. So they've got a juggernaut of games coming up for the Tigers, as do a lot of these teams in the GRC.
Yeah, they just can't they just got to keep their foot on the gas pedal right now. They just can't stop improving and pretty much scoring. And honestly, Worth County's looking really good right now. I know they've had only one conference game so far.
Well, and they've scored at least 70 points every game.
Exactly. So they do have the foot on the gas pedal. So it's just off to the races for them.
And Stanberry and King City, they both came in to Saturday undefeated. Stanberry was able to get the best of King City 46-28. They got up pretty big in that game. King City was able to make that game a lot closer towards the end. And then the one that really sticks out to me, Pattonsburg, North Andrew. For one, that's a lot of points. 128 combined points as Pattonsburg, the Panthers pick up the 76-52 win. We talked to their head coach, Chase Roberts, this week, and like he said, they got up. It was a close game at halftime, and they were able to, I think he said it was an 8-point game. They were able to kind of get the momentum rolling in that second half, and they really opened it up and was able to hold on to that 76-52 win. So Pattonsburg, they're 3-0 on the season, and North Andrew 1-2 on the season. Not something we're not accustomed to saying a lot. I know you've grown up around this area in North Andrew, about halfway between Maryville and St. Joe. They've always been a perennial 8-man power, and they're still a team to be reckoned with, but it is a little surprising to see them at 1-2, is it not?
No, it's very surprising. I've had friends that have played on North Andrew's football team, and they took into the title game, and it's a little shocked right now.
But I think this is a team that it's a little bit younger team than we're used to seeing with North Andrew. I think this is a team, maybe week 7 or week 8, I might not want to play.
And that they also put up 56 points. Just know that would have defeated, if you look at it on there, that would have
won just about any other game.
Exactly. They would have.
Not Worth County.
Sorry, 52 points. They would have beat Stanberry.
Yeah, so it's it'll be interesting to see. Those two will match up here in the upcoming weeks, but it'll be really interesting to see that one as the GRC right now is just kind of shaping up. Worth County seems to be the favorites right now. They're 3-0, 1-0 in conference play. Stanberry, they're also 3-0, 3-0 in conference play. Pattonsburg, they are 3-0 and 2-0 in conference play. And what's the 4 through 8 looking like in that conference?
4 through 8 right now. King City's 2-1 as they are 1-1 in conference play. North Andrew 1-2, and they're also 1-2 in conference play. Albany is 1-2, and they're 0-1 in conference. St. Joe Christian is 0-2, as they also had the bye week this past week, and they're 0-2 in conference. And Bramer's 0-3, along with their 0-3 conference record.
Big matchup coming up in the Grand River Conference this week. We'll talk a little bit more about it later, but King City taking on Pattonsburg this week. That is going to be an exciting one, as that could have a lot of late-season implications on the line. And when we get to the postseason, that game will be played in King City on Friday night. But we were fortunate enough to catch up with the head coach of the Pattonsburg Panthers this week. As the Panthers off to a really impressive 3-0 start. They've been able to get it done. An impressive win over North Andrew, and they have their sights set on a very good King City team and a little bit bigger prize down the stretch. So why don't we talk to the head football coach of the Pattonsburg Panthers, Chase Roberts, on This Week in High School Sports.
You're listening to This Week in High School Sports on X106. It's now time for another Coach's Corner, and for this one, we're going to take the trek to Pattonsburg in the Grand River Conference and talk to their head football coach of the Pattonsburg Panthers, head coach Chase Roberts. Coach, how's it going today?
Yeah, we're fired up. Big win last week, and looking forward to playing King City for another big Grand River Conference matchup this Friday night at 7 o'clock.
Talk about last week. You guys are now 3-0 in the season. You picked up a big win over North Andrew. What did you see from your team that you liked last Friday?
Yeah, obviously a huge win for us, and anytime you can stay undefeated, every game just gets bigger and bigger. And so played probably our toughest opponent of the year in North Andrew, and I think the biggest thing for us was just playing through some self-inflicted tough times. Come out and throw a pick six early in the game, and then the very next play of offense, throw another pick that they run back to the 2-yard line. then we dropped an interception, and then had 3 or 4 fumbles that we never recovered one of them. And so you have all those tough things that happen. Then you have one of our starters go down with a knee injury, and he's probably done for the year. Starting nose guard and a guard, and that happened in the first quarter. And so just about everything you thought bad could happen happened, and then you get them on 4th and 4, and they go to throw the ball, which we think we like where we're at in pass coverage, and we back the ball up, and then they catch it with a guy coming across the field that they didn't throw it to, and you run down into the red zone. So, just everything didn't go away first half, and then the guys would still be up 36-30 at halftime and get them calm down and get in the locker room and come back out and explode in the third quarter. It's just huge for our guys to come out and, again, just keep the pedal down and keep fighting and keep working even though things weren't going our way. I think it just speaks volumes to where we're at as a team and where our guys are at. Or years past, that probably would have been a time where you could just kind of pack up camp and lay down. They didn't do that, and again came back out with a vengeance in the second half and to put up, whatever it was, 32 points in the third quarter and hold them to 8. Obviously is where you wanted to be coming out of the half and go up 68-38, and then I guess 76-38 there early in the fourth quarter. So just a huge second half, and again just the persistence and the fight and drive to keep it going and to not let the bad things keep us down, but just keep doing our thing. And I think that just speaks volumes to where our kids are at, where they've worked to get mentally, just to trust themselves and keep doing the right things, and finally get some good things happen for us. It's got a big win.
Is there anything in particular that you've seen from your team that has maybe exceeded your expectations or that you really like?
Yeah, I think just that, just the mentality. We've had some really good players. I've been, it's my second year here, but was here in a more limited role 3 years ago. But, we've always had really good athletes. So I think that what's the most impressive thing is just the mentality and the drive to win and to compete that we haven't always had. And that comes when you play more football and you get to be a better football player, you have a more confidence. And I think that's where we're seeing the most growth in our kids is when the dog fight happens, we want to be in the middle of the scrap. And you got to keep working on that, obviously, because, we're getting into the teeth of the GRC season and our schedule. And so I think that's where it's most exciting to see the kids that want to compete, want to play big time football games and win those big games and win the jump balls. And, also would like to get more loose balls on the ground with fumbles. But just that desire to be in the middle of the scrap is where we've grown the most while we got a big win last Friday night.
You mentioned that you guys have been blessed with some really gifted athletes in years past. Just kind of talk about some of the guys this year that have been carrying the workload for you. And is there anyone that's really kind of stuck out to you and exceeded your expectations this year?
Yeah, well, I think it always starts up front, and we're a little banged up now, but I don't know that I guess last week was the first time we ever actually got really hit at quarterback going through the ball, and it could have been an incomplete pass or maybe a sack, I don't know, but they kind of knocked it off just as our quarterback even when I was trying to throw. But I would definitely just say, it always starts up front with our O-line, so Carlisle and a senior center, and then Lane Hewitt working at guard and Blake Hewitt working at guard, and those three guys have really carried the load. And then Casey Mathis went down last week with a knee injury, and we'll see on the MRI what's been happening with him. But those 4 guys have really done a great job protecting our quarterback. And again, in 3 games, I don't know what you would actually count that as. I don't really worry about the stats too much if that was a sack or not. But if that was a sack, that would be the only sack we get up this year. So that obviously helps with, the numbers on the passing game. And then our quarterback, Stephen Wilhite, has had a heck of a season. He threw for 9 touchdown passes a night, and he threw a couple picks the first 2 of the year, and then 5 touchdowns the first 2 games of the year. So, I don't know what that is. That's a lot of touchdowns, and he's got a lot of guys to throw it to. We have 6 guys we're really confident in, starting with Trevor Ireland at receiver, leading the way, I think, as far as receptions and yards and touchdown passes. He's really done a good job. And then, again, we got Cameron Jones, Patrick Cowley, Brett Emig, Carter Crow, and Dakota Eaton, all 6 of those guys are really confident in and putting out there. We give people trouble. So when you got 6 that you can think you can play receiver and you can only get 4 of them at a time, it's nice to have one of those guys standing beside you, but it's frustrating too because they want to play it and get to work. So that's offensively, and then defensively, again, just the guys up front. And it's a lot of the same guys with Nixon and Clark Adler and Gavin Garrett as senior force defensive end, and then Gage Sperry at linebacker. And then again, it's a lot of the same guys, playing defense too and doing a good job and really good up front. That's where we're better at than we've ever been. And so it helps our linebackers freed up, and Colin Briggs mixing in there and Carter Cohen at linebacker did a great job for us. And, we're getting where we want to be. But again, I think it starts up front, having a bunch of guys that want to play and having guys on the sideline that could be playing. makes it really nice as you get into the years and injuries and things start to happen, and you got to have extra guys ready to go.
Coach, I don't have to tell you how tough the GRC is. You already know that with Worth County, Standerford, King City this year, and North Andrew as well. Just kind of what's the goal for this team? I'm guessing the goal is probably to be able to win the conference championship. And have you guys maybe discussed some of those goals this season?
Yeah, we don't shy away from that. The reality that we're playing for November, and I think that's every team that's competitive knows that. It's kind of the beauty of Missouri football is that you could go 0-9 and then still win a state championship. And so just having that mindset of we're up there to compete every Friday night, but taking care of ourselves, staying healthy, doing the right things to get to where we'll play our best football come November. When district playoffs start, we want to be primed and ready to go and have all our horses ready to go. And so practicing with that mentality and continuing to get better every week, not just to win that football game, but to be the best we can be whenever it starts to count, and when you lose, you go home. And so, every week it's getting tougher, and this week in King City, I think without a doubt the best we played this year. You're juiced for that game, and then obviously we got some really big ones coming down the road after those guys too. But you have to have the big picture in mind, because if you got a kid that is beat up from a game, or we got a kid with a tweaked hamstring, it'd be easy just to say, well, you can play. But what are we doing tearing a hamstring over a week 4 game when we know we got bigger things and bigger goals in mind come week 12, week 13, when we can be playing at those times, week 11. So I think that's where you have to help the kids to be mature and have a big, it's a long road to hoe, but we got to get this week out this week too. And so, holding both those in balance, I think is obviously hard for young guys, and it's hard for me as a young coach too. But we always step back and look at the bigger picture and what's better, for a chance to compete in November, and for the best thing for our kids to be ready to do that as well, with our health intact and our numbers up, and kids that still are hungry for football, come November and not sick of it, ready to move on to basketball.
Big matchup this week with King City, another very good team in the GRC this year. What have you seen from them, and what do you think it's going to take to get the best of them on Friday night?
Oh, they're a really good football team. I have a lot of respect for Coach Breckenridge and what they do at King City, and their kids play hard. I think it's a really interesting matchup. I think we're both very similar, and we're not really big. We don't have a lot of big guys. We got some really skilled, fast guys, and even up front, our linemen both are, more of just the smaller, athletic type kids that can move and run. So I think it'll be exciting to see, what they try to come out and do against us. But I think we both are very good at the quarterback position. They got a really good quarterback that can throw it and run it, a good running back, and a couple really good receivers. And so just matching up skill on skill, and I think it'll be a track meet. I think that both of us are going to try to throw the ball around a little bit. It should be a good night for throwing the ball, warm and dry. They got a really nice facility over there. They probably want to run the ball a little more than we do. They got a really good running back at number 7. So they've got some talent, and they're not scared of hitting you on defense. They mix up their coverages, do different things that they're going to try to give us some trouble, and so we got to be mature. And Coach Cavan, our receivers, I think has done a really good job of teaching our receivers how to react to defenses and those types of things. And so, again, it's a great football game. I think the toughest game of the year for us for sure. As far as just schematically and having to match up, they do a lot of different stuff. And so on offense, they got a lot of different formations and run a lot of different plays and get their guys in spots they want to get them to get a good matchup. And so just having to get lined up and ready to go and know where we're supposed to be and when we're supposed to be there and fly the football. Because if you don't have multiple guys on the ball, that makes you pay, because they got guys that'll make you miss. And just kind of all get 8 hats there, and when the ball's in the air or the ball's on the ground, go put a foot in the ground and get that way. And hopefully we can create turnovers. I think that's what it's going to come down to is, which quarterback is smarter with the ball, who throws the least amount of picks. So I think both teams have defensive backs that can go and get it, but who can throw the least amount of picks, and then which guys can hang on to football. And if the defense creates turnovers, I think it's going to be hard for those teams to overcome that on a Friday night when you got 2 pretty good teams going at it that can both score at will.
Talking to you, Pattonsburg head football coach Chase Roberts. The Panthers off to an impressive 3-0 start. They have a big matchup with King City this weekend. Coach, thank you for your time, and best of luck Friday and the rest of the season. We'll talk to you down the road.
Hey, man, everybody come out. Big time football game, King City, 7 o'clock Friday night. Go Panthers.
All right, that is Chase Roberts, head football coach at Pattonsburg. We're going to take a real quick break. You're listening to This Week in High School Sports on X106.
Welcome back to This Week in High School Sports. Once again, I'm Kramer Sansone along with Trevor Mater. So let's switch some things over to the Midland Empire Conference, as we already went through the GRC and the 275 Conference and the 8-man side, now the 11-man side. Starting off, this game was actually played on Saturday. It was Lafayette defeated Benton 46-15. St. Pius X, as this is also the games on Friday. St. Pius X 128. Cameron lost 14. Savannah defeated Bishop LeBlond with a score of 83-14, and Maryville defeated Chillicothe 47-0, and that was played at Bearcat Stadium under the lights. A little bit about the Maryville game. Ben Walker threw 172 yards and 3 touchdowns. Eli Dowis had 91 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. X106, Wyatt Bell, and Colton Imsweiler were on the call for Bearcat Stadium. So let's hear what the highlights from Maryville's dominant win.
Welcome to Northwest Missouri State University as the Maryville Spoofhounds are set to take on the Chillicothe Hornets. This game is being played at Northwest due to bad field conditions at Maryville High School. So this is a neutral home game for the Spoofhounds tonight. And we got Dallas in motion. Walker will roll out to pass. He'll throw over to the left side to Houchin, and he's going to get in there for a touchdown. That's a touchdown early for the Spoofhounds. Tyler Houchin. Dallas has a huge hold to the left side, and he gets to the corner, and he'll score a touchdown again. And that'll put a quick 12-0 lead on the board for the Spoofhounds. And we'll be in the pistol formation for Maryville here. Dallas in motion. They hand it off to Houchin up the middle. He spins, and he gets in for another Maryville touchdown. And another handoff to the same man, and he almost fumbled the football. He may have fumbled the football. And the ball is on the ground, and the official is pointing toward Maryville, so the Spoofhounds will take over again. And Dallas is in motion. There's the first pass of the game, and it's a bullet strike pass to the left side. That's number 3, Tate Oglesby, and he'll walk into the end zone. Touchdown, Maryville. And Walker will show off his arm, and he throws it, and it's caught. What a play. And that's number 15.
That would be Dion Metazire.
And that'll be Dallas to the right side. He'll get the edge, and he'll get the touchdown. Maryville into the end zone once again with 8:38 to go in the second quarter. And that'll push the score to 32-0 in favor of the Spoofhounds.
That will do it. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And that is your game, folks. The Maryville Spoofhounds, now 2-1 on the season. Back-to-back shutouts, a 47-0 win over the Chillicothe Hornets.
That was X106's Wyatt Bell and Colton Emsweiler on the call from Bearcat Stadium as the Spoofhounds a dominant 47-0 victory over the Chillicothe Hornets this past Friday night. And Kramer, we kind of talked about an interesting dynamic for that game last week. Maryville getting to play at Bearcat Stadium, not something you see a lot, and something you do see a lot though is Maryville winning, and they looked pretty darn good on Friday night.
Yeah, no, putting up 47 points. That's that is a lot in the Midland Empire Conference. To be honest, for those players out there, they had the time of their lives being able to go under the lights.
I'm sure they had to.
Stadium. Like Eli at Dallas, 91 yards and 3 touchdowns. I bet he's like, I could possibly keep doing this outside of high school, but I know his sport is basketball, so it's still good to see the players perform and people step up too. Yeah,
good game from Ben Walker as well. A really good game. He's certainly coming to in that quarterback position. I think we'll see him get even better as the season progresses. And the one thing that Coach Webb kind of talked about last week after the win over Harrisonville, he was really proud of how their defense had played in a shutout. They pitch another shutout. So they did give up 38 points in that opener to Blair Oaks, but since then they have outscored opponents 83-0, and it is hard to win games when you can't score points. So the Spoofhounds are doing a good job of making sure their opponents can't score points, and normally that means you're going to win games.
This defense looks unstoppable since
at
week
the moment.
1.
Yeah, it's been.
See, it was like third quarter in week 1. I know they lost that week, but that was like pretty much the start of something new.
They had a fumble and they were able to score it. This defense has been playing really, really well, and I'm sure Coach Webb would really like to see them continue that as we go on to the season. They got a matchup with St. Pius X, as that was the beginning of Midland Empire Conference play. So all the teams that won are now 1-0 in conference play. So Lafayette, as well as St. Pius X, Savannah, and Maryville are all 1-0. Excuse me. Benton, Cameron, LeBlond, and Chillicothe drop to 0-1. We're going to preview the what's coming up this week in the Midland Empire Conference here in just a little bit, but it's time that we take a break. When we get back, we're going to look at what's going on in the high school football realm this week with the 275, Grand River, and Midland Empire Conferences. You're listening to This Week in High School Sports on X106. Welcome back to This Week in High School Sports on X106. Trevor Mader, Kramer Sansone here with you. Wrapping things up, we've talked to a trio of coaches from a couple different sports. We've recapped everything that's gone on in the last week. So why don't we go ahead and look at what's going on this Friday night. Friday night lights all across Northwest Missouri. In the 275 Conference, South Holt, Nottoway Holt, the Spartans looking for their first win of the season. They will travel down to Barnard and take on the Platte Valley Longhorns. Mound City, Southwest Livingston, that'll be in Ludlow tonight. We heard from Mound City head coach Taylor Standerford earlier on. That is a big matchup and a pair of unbeatens in the 275 Conference. It's homecoming in Rockport as Northwest Nottoway is in town to take on the undefeated Rockport Blue Jays. DeKalb will travel to East Atchison, and Warwick will take on Stewartsville. Kramer, what's going on in the Grand River Conference tonight?
So in the Grand River Conference, they got North Andrew is at Osceola in Iowa. Worth County is at Albany. Stanberry is taking on St. Joe Christian. Pattonsburg is at King City, and North Shelby is taking on Bramer at home. And moving over to the Midland Empire Conference, Maryville is at St. Pius X. Lafayette is on the road against Savannah. Cameron is also on the road against Chillicothe, and Bishop LeBlond is taking on Benton.
Quick look at the 8-man power rankings from Straight Up Sports. They release a power ranking every single week of the 8-man school. Stanberry right now, they're still number one. They've been number one. They stay there with their impressive run so far. Worth County, they are number 2. Mound City, they moved from 4th to 3rd this past week. King City, they dropped from 3rd to 4th with the loss of Stansbury. Pattonsburg, they're 3-0 in the season. We heard from their coach, Chase Roberts, earlier on in the show. They are ranked 5th according to those rankings. Southwest Livingston, they are 6th. They will take on number 3 Mound City this week. Rockport, they're 3-0 as well. They're ranked 7th. East Atchison is 8th at 2-1. North Andrew still finds himself in the top 10 despite the 1-2 record. The Cardinals are 9th. And the Orc Bearcats find themselves cracking the top 10. And that's a quick look at your 8-man power rankings. Real quick, do you know who the Orc Bearcats can lay claim to?
I do not.
One, Jason Offit.
Oh, that's right.
Yep,
Yeah,
Jason
that is
Offit's
true.
a graduate of Oric High School. I don't even want to guess what year. But anyways, we digress just a little bit. Let's take a look. When you look at the schedule, Kramer, across the 275, the GRC, and the MEC, is there any one particular game that really sticks out to you?
Well, honestly, the 275 with Orc at Stewartsville. Let's see if Orc can still keep it going and see if they go 4-0.
Yeah, I got 2 games I'm really looking at, and they're both right now between powers in those conferences. The 275 with Mound City at Southwest Livingston. Southwest Livingston is a team I kind of thought would probably finish 4th or 5th in this conference, just I didn't know enough about them. I figured it would be probably Mound City, East Atchison, Rockport, somewhere up there battling for the win in the conference title race. And then I thought Southwest Livingston and South Holt and Nottoway Holt would be right there. The schedule for South Holt and Nottoway Holt has been brutal so far with tough matchups against Worth County and East Atchison. And they've had a really tough schedule, but I think it'll help them in the long run. But this Southwest Livingston team is playing really well. They're undefeated. They get a host to Mound City. It's a long road trip for Mound City, and that'll be an exciting one. I know Coach Standerford expects them to sling the ball a lot, and it could be a very high-scoring game, as are most 8-man games. Then the Grand River Conference, I'm looking for Pattonsburg at King City. We also heard from Pattonsburg coach Chase Roberts earlier on. These are 2 programs that have kind of been, you could see the progression in years past. The last couple of years, it's been North Andrew, it's been Stanberry, it's been Worth County, but Pattonsburg and King City have just been getting better, and they've been rebuilding, and now they're right there on the outside looking in with a chance to be in, and that is going to be a fun one on Friday night.
Also, Cameron at Chillicothe. Chillicothe just lost last week to Maryville, and Cameron got their first loss on the season. Let's see who rebounds quicker off their losses.
Now we're in a conference play too, so everything, a little bit of extra incentive as you want to make that conference record as cushy as you possibly can. that'll do it for this week's episode of This Week in High School Sports. Huge thank you to our guests today, Maryville volleyball coach Marissa Felt, as well as Mound City football coach Taylor Standerford, and Pattonsburg football coach Chase Roberts. We'll be right back with you next week. We'll have more coaches lined up for you, and as always, we will recap everything that's going on in the world of high school sports across Northwest Missouri. Until then, for Kramer Sansone, I am Trevor Mander, and you are listening to X106.